Welcome back to another episode of With a Grain of Salt. I am your host, Isaiah Salter, and I appreciate you for tuning in for yet another week of the With a Grain of Salt podcast. As you can see, it is just me this week. My guy Tom is on vacation with the family until the 1st. So, and last week we had Dr. Rebecca, but this week I decided to just go solo and just chop it up with you guys. We're just going to have a chill session, talk on some different things and vibe together, you know what I mean? And so I have this journal, which is my first journal ever, which I got about 4 years ago, three and a half years ago, when I really started going through a transformation in my life, a low moment. This was the journal that was with me through all that. And so the theme of this podcast, this solo podcast, is really just reflection and retrospection. I think it's so important from time to time to just go back in your own journey and reflect on certain things and moments and experiences that you went through, just to have appreciation and gratitude for where you've been and what you've been able to overcome, you know. And so that's what we're gonna do today. And so I'm just gonna kind of skim through my journal, because I like to do this from time to time and see if anything really sticks out to me, and see if we can dive into a topic together. So the first page I open to, of course, or the one I stop at, is this was July 14th, 2022. It said, quick one, it said, things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. Trust the process. So simple yet so profound, you know. Things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. In every situation, things are happening for you. Prior to this episode that you're watching right now, about 30 minutes ago, I had finished the episode that I was working on. Like, I was doing this 30 minutes ago. And when I went to go check the SD card, I realized that the audio was not connected to the camera. And so I watched the whole thing and I was like, you can't hear me at all. So I had to reshoot it. So I grabbed some food, I reset, refocus, and now I'm back for round 2. And it is a great lesson that you can't always control the things that happen to you, but you can control how you respond. You know, I had an urge to be like, you know what, forget it, I'll do it another time, or I'll just skip this week. But I was like, nah, like, let's go get some food, relax a little bit, breathe, and then come back and try it again. You know what I mean? And so that's what we're doing. It's not going to be too long of an episode. It's really just, we're just sitting here vibing, you know. But like the notebook said, the journal said, things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. You know, that heartbreak, that adversity, that loss, that tough moment that you're going through, whether you realize it or not, it's happening for you. And there's something in it for you to grow. There's a lesson. There's a seed of opportunity in it. It's a beautiful thing. And when you reframe the way you look at things and you start looking through that perspective, it's going to help you tremendously no matter what you're going through. It doesn't mean you're not still going to have the emotions and feelings, and it's not going to be incredibly difficult. But knowing that it's happening for you and that you're growing through it can help you tremendously just to get through it. My mom always says, you got to get through it to get to it, right? Whatever you're going through, you want to get to the best version of yourself. You want to get to that vision, to over the mountain. You got to get through it. You know what I mean? You got to get through it. You got to go through it. And so it's just a reminder for you today, no matter what you're going through, it's happening for you. I have this book. This is one of my favorite books. It's not really a book. It's more of it's each and every day of the year. So it has January 1st all the way to December 31st. It has a passage for that day, just to start or end your day, whatever you want to do. And this book has been so profound because it's something that you can constantly go back to, something that can really help you to start the day right. And they're really, really dope passages. So I've starred some days that have really stuck out to me. So I'm going to find one and we'll read it together. You know what I mean? We'll read it together. We'll vibe out. This one is from March 6th. It says, do you ever have the sense that something is missing in your life? We all do from time to time. Most people push it aside fairly quickly because we are afraid of where it might lead. But we really should pay a little bit more attention to our dissatisfaction. It's okay to be dissatisfied. Being dissatisfied and pretending that we are not is the kind of lie that leads to spiritual and physical illness. Our dissatisfaction is trying to lead us to something better or something different altogether. It is time to start listening to what God is saying to us through dissatisfaction. I want to encourage you to pay a little bit more attention to the sense that something is missing in your life. This quiet discontent is creating restlessness in you for a reason. God is trying to tell you something. I love this because I think so often we have that sense that there's so much more to us, that we're meant for so much more. This can't be all, right? Like, you have that small voice, that inner voice that's telling you to, that you're made for so much more, to put yourself out there. And it's just on us to listen to it. But so often we get so caught up in, everyday life, and we're constantly moving at 100 miles per hour that we never take time to be in solitude and silence and to really listen to what, our inner voice is telling us to do, to really listen to our soul and our spirit, and I know for me, when I started really listening to that small voice that I had beside me, telling me that I was made for so much more, telling me that these things aren't in line with you, my life changed for the better. I wouldn't even say my life got easier. It didn't get easier. If anything, it got harder, but it was for a reason. Because I truly believe that when you make that decision to start moving down a path that's more aligned, more authentic, more true to who you truly are, life does get incredibly tough, because a lot of times in order to step into the new, we have to let go of the old, and letting go of the old hurts. Old habits, old people, old environments, whatever it may be. It's incredibly painful. It's incredibly difficult. But that pain and that difficulty and that hardship is not a negative thing. It's a positive thing. It's showing you that you're moving in the right direction. Because when things get tough, that's when something great is coming. When ease and comfort and you're chilling all the time, nothing grows there. Nothing grows in comfort, right? It's when life gets incredibly tough. You're getting pulled from all directions, a lot of pressure, that you start to grow. It starts to do something within you. It starts to push what's on the inside out, right? And just reminding yourself of that when you go through really tough seasons, that these are the moments that build and shape your character. These are the moments that test you in the right ways, that push you in the right ways. You know what I mean? And you're going to look back in hindsight one day and be so grateful for the hardship, for the adversity, for the confusion, because you'll see how it was all playing a role in you becoming the best version of yourself, and be grateful for the hard times, because a good time is coming. Be grateful for the good times, because more struggle is coming. And it's this cycle that we go through throughout life. Adversity and loss and grief and heartbreak and sadness are all things we're going to experience for the rest of our life. When it comes in seasons, you're going to have seasons of prosperity and opportunity, where you're blossoming, and then you're going to have other seasons that are incredibly difficult, where you got to hone in a little bit more, where you're going to be faced with a lot more pressure, right? But every season serves a purpose. Every single one of your seasons that you go through serves a purpose. No one is better than the other. They all play a role. Our job is to embrace the season that we're in with an open mind, an open heart, understanding that there is so much opportunity and growth in this season if we're open to it. Because that's the key, right? Like, a lot of times people don't realize that the opportunities and blessings they're searching for aren't coming to them because they're not open to them, right? And a lot of times it's just getting out of your own way. And one way that I think a lot of people get in their own way is when things aren't happening the way that they want them to happen, they start complaining. They start becoming negative. They start focusing on how nothing's happening. Oh my gosh, this is the worst thing. Nothing ever goes my way. And you don't even realize by doing that, you're standing in your own way. You're literally blocking the blessings and opportunities that want to come into your life because of that perspective. And this is where you have to be incredibly real and honest and accountable with yourself to be able to catch yourself when you do fall into that trap of having a closed perspective or maybe falling into a negative loop and being like, whoa, hold up. That is not aligned. That attitude, that perspective is not aligned with the person that I want to become. It's okay that you fell into that, negative loop, but it's not okay to stay there, right? Catch yourself. Take yourself out of that situation. Gather yourself. Reframe the situation. View it through a different perspective and start taking steps down that road, right? And the more and more you do that, the more and more you're training yourself to start looking at these tough and hard situations as opportunities and not obstacles, as blessings and not burdens, right? And when you really start to change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, the things you look at change. And this is why reflection and retrospection is so important, because when you look back in your life, right, you're going to see things, certain patterns, certain habits that keep on happening over and over, right? And if you don't want those things to keep on occurring in your life, you have to change something. You have to do something different, because things don't change if things don't change. Shout out to Theo Von. Things do not change if things do not change. If you see a loop or a pattern or a habit that keeps on coming up in your life, but you're not doing any different, you can't expect those things to just go away, right? And this is why reflection is so important. This is why holding yourself accountable and being real with yourself is so important, right? And the biggest thing that I'm always going to continue to preach is it's not about perfection. We're not trying to be perfect. We're not trying to get everything right. We're just trying to have the right intention and focus our attention on the right things. Because when you do that, your life will start to shift. A lot of people might have the right intentions, but they focus their attention on the wrong stuff, and it leads to a outcome that's not desired. Or vice versa. A lot of people don't have the right intentions, and maybe they're focusing on the right stuff, but the intentions aren't pure, right? They're not aligned. It messes up the result. It messes up the desired outcome, right? And so the biggest thing is you have to be real with yourself. The intention of why you're doing this thing. Why do you want to go down this path? What is it, that you truly want from your journey? And then when you figure that out, what can you focus your attention on that is aligned with that intention? And when you start to live your life that way, forget about it. That's where authenticity comes from. That's where truthful living comes from. That's where abundance comes from. That's where growth comes from. You know what I mean? And it's a daily journey. You're not always going to get it perfect. Sometimes you got to bring yourself back to center and make sure that your intentions are staying true. Same way with the things you focus on. Sometimes you got to pump the brakes and make sure that your energy and your attention is going to the things that are uplifting you and not taking you away from your calling, not taking you away from your purpose or your truest self, right? And, you're really the best judge for that, because at the end of the day, it's your life. Nobody else can live your life for you. You have to live your life. And the longer we spend our time allowing external opinions or perceptions or other people to dictate our life, the longer we will be living a life that is not true to us, right? And I think one of the toughest things about living a life that's true to you and really moving into a more authentic, aligned path is that it means you're going to have to be willing to let certain things and people go that aren't aligned with that vision and that path that you're going down, right? And it is incredibly difficult to do that because, like we've talked about before, when you've invested so much time and energy into a person or a thing, it's hard to let that thing go, right? Because we've created these deep-rooted attachments. And now when we lose that thing or that person or that environment, whatever it may be, we feel like we're losing a part of ourselves. When in reality, your identity is not that thing. It's not that environment. It's not that habit, right? Your identity is rooted in the truth of who you are within you, right? And that's where you also have to be honest with yourself, because if you keep finding yourself feeling like you're losing a part of yourself when you lose certain people or things, you got to get clear on where your identity is, right? Your identity shouldn't be placed on anything external, right? The purpose and who you truly are lives within you. Tap into that, and you'll never go a day feeling like you don't have yourself, right? It doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. No matter who you're with, you'll always have you, right? But a lot of times we're so focused on the external. We're so focused on, taking care of other people and being there for other people that we forget to have our own back. You got to make sure that you're taking care of you. You got to make sure that you have your own back. You have to be your best friend, right? And a lot of times if we're not our best friend, we're our biggest enemy without even realizing it. We are standing in our own way. And a lot of times you got to pump the brakes, be honest with yourself, and get out the way, which means letting your guard down a little bit, which means you got to remove your ego from certain situations and decisions. And you have to be real and honest, right? You have to be real and honest with yourself, because how can you expect other people to be real and honest with you, or you to be real and honest with other people, if you can't even be real and honest with yourself, right? This is why self-reflection and self-awareness is so important. That inner dialogue we have is so important. You have to talk to yourself like you're your best friend, right? If your best friend was going through what you were going through, what would you tell him? What would you tell her, right? How often do we not take our own advice that we give to other people? All the time. I do it too. Oh, bro, I see it. This person's asking me something. I give them certain advice, and then the same situation happens in my life. Why are you not taking it there, right? Why are you not taking it there? And so, it's just holding yourself accountable. You know what I mean? Holding yourself accountable. I really love this book so much. This is from July 19th. I put a star on it. I don't know if y'all can see that. I put a whole star on it. It says, image or light? That is the question. We tend to spend our lives dedicated to the image, to the material. The image represents the body. The light represents the spirit. Do you identify more with your body or with your spirit? The highest levels of living are experienced when we have an absolute disregard for the body beyond our basic needs, and a complete adherence to the promptings of the divine spirit within us. It is then that we form our identity from the spirit within, when we let the sweet light within us shine. Most of us, however, are dedicated to the body, to the image. We see and value ourselves not in the terms of the spirit, but in relation to the body. We find our identity through the body. We form and live by an image made up of physical and sensory perception. Do you find your identity through your body or your spirit? Are you dedicated to the image or to the light? The image is an illusion. The light is truth. A person who is dedicated completely to the light is capable of anything. Prayer shifts our dedication from the image to the light. This is amazing, and it's crazy because this came right after what we were just talking about identity. And it's so true. It's so true. A lot of people are so caught up in the physical that they forget that the physical is a very, very small part of this whole entire thing that we call life. And if you live your life only out of the lens of your physical body, I don't know. I feel like I've been there, and I feel like it don't really lead to much fulfillment or peace, but when you tap into that inner light that each and every one of us has within us, and you start to live from that, your life will get increasingly better. So, my dog. Yo, we're good. How you doing, man? I'm just shooting a... That's funny. I'll put a little clip of that in here, but they just walked in. But that dude I know, he's one of the lacrosse coaches at the school that I graduated from. So really good guy, really dope man. So grateful to have seen him. But yeah, so like we were just talking about the identity, like rooting your identity in the light within you, not the external things that we're so drawn to because of our ego and what society tells us is important. You know what I mean? And that's also a tough thing too, like being able to break free from the programming and conditioning that society tries to put on you, and deciding to think for yourself, just deciding to carve out your own path. That's not an easy thing, and it is incredibly scary, but it's so much more worthwhile. You know what I mean? It's so much more fulfilling. Like, imagine living your whole life based off of the opinions and perceptions of other people, based off of what society tells you what you should be doing, instead of, really asking yourself, what is it that you want to do and why, and starting to go down that journey, right? And I always tell people, like, when you put yourself out there and you want to become all of who God made you to be, whether, like, if you decide that you want to start something, or you want to do a new endeavor, whatever it is, you want to try a new thing, whether it works out or not is not the point of that journey. The point of that journey is you actually having the courage to take that leap. Right there, you already won. Whether it works out at the end or not is besides the point. If it does, great. If it doesn't, it's just a lesson. You keep on moving. But the fact that you had the courage to take that leap of faith, to put yourself out there and actually try something that's, a little against the norm of just going through the motions and settling, you already won there. And if you could start to live your life like that, right, where you really start to follow your heart, you start to follow that inner light, that inner guidance, imagine the places that you can go. Imagine the things that you can experience. Imagine the person that you'll become when you start living your life like that. That's where authentic living is. Authentic living isn't in doing stuff because it's easy, because it's comfortable, because it's the norm. Authentic living is all about you becoming all of who you were made to be, which means you're going to have courage. You're going to have to take leaps of faith. You're going to have to, get out of your shell a little bit and actually try different things. You're going to have to explore and be curious, right? You're going to have to be okay with messing up. You're going to have to be okay with not being good at something at first, right? But it's all a part of you cultivating and becoming all of who you were made to be. It's a beautiful journey to go down too. It's a beautiful journey to go down. And I think there's two things that stop people from going down that journey. One is the fear of failure, right? The fear of, oh, what if it don't work out? Oh, what if this goes that way, or this, whatever it is. Or it's the fear of what everybody else will think about them. It's the fear of the opinions and stuff like that. And it's like, this is where you have to hone in and have that real conversation with yourself and ask yourself, what is more important? Becoming all of who I was made to be, right? My most authentic and truest self, or the fear and opinions of other people. The fear of failing, the fear of it not working out. Which is really more important, and which path do you want to choose? Which path do you want to go down, right? Because everything is a choice at the end of the day. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to hear, but it really is. Everything is a choice. And what you have to remember is, whatever you choose, you're also choosing the consequences associated with that decision, right? So if you choose the authentic path, the true path, right? The path that, it might be more scary. You might have to put yourself out there a little bit more, but you're also choosing the aligned relationship. You're also choosing the opportunities and the blessings and becoming all of who you were made to be. And on the contrary, if you do choose to live your life in fear, or based off of the opinions and perceptions of other people, you're also choosing the consequences that come with that. You're also choosing settling for a life that you were not made to live. You're also choosing the pain of regret. All right? You're also choosing to allow fear to dictate what you do. And so it's like, you have to be real with yourself and ask yourself, what do you choose? What do you choose today? And so, yeah. I think that's going to do it for this episode. This was actually pretty fun. It's my first, real solo episode, setting it up like this. Obviously it's not too long, but I feel like we touched on some good topics. We chopped it up, great vibes. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Continue to take it day by day, step by step. I hope each and every one of you has an amazing week, amazing month, amazing year. Continue to embrace the moment. Continue to be all of who you were made to be in this moment. And most importantly, remember to take everything with a grain of salt. We out of here.